Do you have any questions about anything that I've said so far before we kind of switch the mic here? Yeah, that was pretty common theme. In this case, I should have mentioned that the group we worked with in South Madison, and this may help make more sense of that, that was essentially, well, a fairly large number, dozens, of young people that we were able to contact and work with through the Neighborhood Boys and Girls Club. And there was actually 3 fairly distinct age groups, quite young, as you saw in the photo, kind of, and then sort of young teens and then older teens. So I think there were some that were maybe 18, 17 or 18 at the end. Yeah. Yeah. What would the oldest be? 18? Yeah, and 50 kids overall? Yeah. So, yeah, so an interest in recreational space was fairly important to them, yeah. That's one of the reasons it came out. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, well, they were working with the members of the research team, but from the community. I think the Boys and Girls Club was a bit involved, but I think Suzanne will be able to actually give you some examples of that, because I know you've been working with in Mount Horeb, I think, when you have a community collaborator there, right? So there's some examples of that, yeah, which is, I think itself is an interesting thing. One of the things that it brings to mind, by the way, that one of the potential issues here that came up, I think, a little bit here is, well, I'll put on my statistician hat for a sec. Youth aren't necessarily a representative sample of the community population, right? They are a particular distinct population and have their own particular views. In fact, even those different age groups would have somewhat different views and points of focus in their interest, right? Because of where they are in their development and so on, their experiences they've had. But I think it's fundamentally their experience would be different, not just from people outside the community, but from adults and their parents and so on, their neighbors. So there's a bit of a difference in that. And I think there was a bit of a tension at some point, or some discussion about whether images that the kids were generating may not have been as entirely as positive as the community might also want to communicate. But the kids were giving us, I guess, in a sense, a balanced view, in the sense that they were not trying to focus just on, let's tell the heroic story, the good story of the community, or just the bad story. I mean, they were just saying, well, this is what it's like, and I like living here, but there's this thing, and that sort of thing. So you're getting both, and I think one of the issues with, if you're a community that's dealing with already stereotypes, you start to become justifiably probably a little bit concerned about, we don't want to kind of entrench those even more, by this, what is a well-intentioned kind of activity. But I think at the end of the day, we went with the kids because they were in a sense, they were the community that we were working with, if you will, yeah. So, yep. Sure, yeah, we've been trying to nurse that one along for a while. We actually just came from a meeting yesterday with that, and to try to pull that together. So we've got a group that's trying to get to the point where we can apply for a research grant to do a pilot project doing something like this with a community in Vancouver. And the community we're interested in working with is one that's already working with some of our colleagues on the team, our group, which includes one or two pediatricians who define themselves as social pediatricians. And this is social pediatrics is an approach to being a physician that involves not just doing clinical work, but going outside into the community and engaging with and partnering with stakeholders in the community, so that to reduce the risk factors that are bringing your patients in, right? And so that you can be doing more preventative work rather than dealing with acute issues. So we have a couple of people who are very much into that and very committed to it, and are already working in other ways with their community. And in this case, their community is what is commonly referred to as the East Downtown of Vancouver, which is a fairly well-known area, and for not entirely good reasons. They prefer to now to define themselves, or at least the community partners that they're working with, as the Strathcona neighborhood, which is more the historical name. And it also reflects that they see themselves in a positive light. It's their home, and there's positive aspects to living there. So that's they think that our colleagues that are working with them already think that bringing this approach in would be an added dimension that would be really useful at this point. So particularly for engaging youth, and also for addressing some questions that they've been struggling with. And some of those have to do with where are recreational areas to be located. For example, I'll give you one example that came up. There's some thought to take, there's little recreational centers and programs kind of spread out, right? They're localized in different cornered pockets of the neighborhood, if you will. And the one, I guess, City Hall thought would be, well, that's not very cost effective. Let's put those all in one place. So we'll centralize it, we'll find a large place, and we'll take all those small places, we'll shut them down, and we'll make this it, and then the kids will have to come there. Well, I'm not sure if that's entirely a good idea, but it's not up for me to assess that. But this might be a method for getting a handle on that, from the perspective of the kids, because how would that affect the way they live in the environment, right? I mean, I could imagine some things, but they would just be hypotheses. I mean, this would be a way to kind of get into that. So that's one example, yeah. And so that's coming along. We're feeling pretty positive about how that's going. So.